Alright guys, we have the Guatemalan volcano disaster. We have $1.2 million for an NBN connection, and Saudi Arabian women get their licenses. It's the 9th of June 2018, and this is what's going on. Guatemalan volcano. 100 have been killed and at least 192 people are missing after the Fuego volcano in Guatemala suddenly erupted on Sunday. Towns were engulfed by a thick, heavy ash from Sunday's sudden eruption. Hot gases, rock, and ash raced down the volcano, killing dozens, erasing hillside communities, also blocking roads and leaving behind streams of debris that rescuers are having trouble navigating. On Tuesday, Eva Askin was coming to terms with the gut-wrenching scenario. Her parents, brothers, sisters, 6 nieces and nephews and other relatives have been missing since the volcano erupted near their homes. It seems unlikely that they survive. Wow, that's heavy. She asked that recovery workers keep going until her family's remains were found and that she has a chance to identify them. New flows of ash, gas and rock spewing out of the volcano, as well as seismic events on Tuesday afternoon, have put these areas of El Jute and Las Lajavs in danger, according to a news release from the disaster agency. They state this new flow will produce a curtain of ash and will principally disperse to the west and northwest following the direction of the wind. The dangers were compounded by heavy rain that would mix the ash and form acid rain or spawn mudslides and floods. Dazed residents have been holding funerals for their dead, even as the recovery workers brace for the likelihood of finding more bodies when they reach the hillside areas overrun by the volcanic flow. Hundreds gathered in the streets as men soberly carried the caskets on their shoulders of people in a funeral procession in the streets. Recovery workers have had difficulty breathing in the hazard conditions. The heat from the ground has also been melting the soles of their shoes. So the firefighters have been having to put down boards just to be able to try and find bodies. And, it's just this really hard work out there by the sounds of it for these guys. More than 3,100 people have been evacuated, and the eruption has affected 1.7 million people. And rescue work on Thursday was suspended as it was too dangerous for workers, as there's seismic activity going on, and you have to look after the workers involved too. It'd be nice to go in there and just be able to account for the dead, but you have to look after the workers as well. I feel really bad for the people of Guatemala. I hope they all band together and try and help each other out. It's really sad. That's really sad. All right. A couple have been quoted over $1 million to have the NBN installed at their house just kilometres away from Melbourne CBD. Alistair Stewart revealed that he was quoted between $800,000 and $1.2 million to have the NBN connection on his house in southeast of the Victorian capital. The Australian government-owned company is currently rolling out the fibre connections to replace the current broadband, which will provide faster internet service. Well, faster, that's quite questionable. Mr. Stewart said the company quoted him the extensive figure because of his Jam Jarrett house is 7 kilometres away from the nearest connection point. Mr. Stewart, who is also an IT consultant and often works at home, said NBN was rolled out in his area 18 months ago, but he was given the terrible and inconsistent fixed wireless internet connection. He just wants the better fibre optic stuff. That's all he wants, really. An NBN spokesperson told the publication that it was unrealistic to run a fibre 7 kilometres for one property, and the furthest they've ever ran one is 2 kilometres. The company said it cost $30,000 to run a wire just a few hundred metres. Well, it's not the national broadband network then, is it? That's all I've got to say about it. But also with this, okay, it's a big project. We know that there's isolated areas, and it's only kilometres away from Melbourne CBD. And isn't it an investment for future development if they have the infrastructure network there? Like, it's a couple of kilometres away. They're going to be building out there soon anyway. It's a no-brainer, guys. Also, another thing I want to pick on the NBN about, NBN's actually slammed online gamers for congestion and slow connections. Okay, it's people using the internet's fault that the internet's going slow. So, example, it's like stating drivers are the problem, are at fault for the cars lacking of performance. Like, come on. All right, Saudi women get their licenses. 10 women in Saudi Arabia were issued driver's licenses this week. The first women in decades to be given the paperwork that will allow them to legally drive in the kingdom. The women already had a valid license from other countries which allowed them to qualify for Saudi licenses ahead of the June 24th, when a countrywide ban on women driving will be reversed, but they will not be allowed to take to the roads until then. Saudi Arabia is the only country that prohibits women from driving, but what should have been a landmark moment in the kingdom was overshadowed by recent arrests of women who had campaigned for the right to drive there. In recent weeks, a number of people have been arrested on charges of trying to undermine Saudi Arabia's security, but groups such as Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International said the arrests honed in on activists. The crackdown seemed to contradict Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's public relations campaign highlighting his efforts to modernize Saudi Arabia. Late last month, UN human rights spokeswoman Liz Throssell said activists were facing charges that could lead to draconian sentences if, as it appears, their detention is related solely to their work on the human rights defenders and activists on women's issues. They should be released immediately, as they should. Although some of those held in detention have been released, at least 4 women and 5 men remain in prison, according to the Associated Press. Samar Hadid, Amnesty International's Middle East Director of Campaign, said that the Saudi Arabian authorities' endless harassment of women's rights activists is entirely unjustifiable. European and world leaders must not stay silent in the face of gross and systematical violations of the human rights of activists and humans trying to defend their rights. Now, these are small steps of change. Yes, small steps, but at least it's in the right direction, I'd have to say. The issue is that if you're going to limit half of your population, it's just a detriment to your country. You have to have everyone involved, everyone being able to drive, everyone being able to commute, everyone being able to be drivers, transport. It's just better for the whole system if all the people there are involved in it. Alright, the Fast Five. Number 1, ban the bikini. The iconic Miss America beauty pageant has announced it's ditching the famous swimsuit component of the competition to focus on the personality of its contestants in the wake of the groundswell of support which has come to the Me Too movement. Yeah, telling women what they can and can't wear, that's empowering, I guess. Number 2, Hawaii. An ever-creeping wall of lava from Kailua Volcano has engulfed 2 entire seaside neighborhoods on the eastern tip of Hawaii's Big Island. Lava from Kailua's volcano has engulfed the neighborhoods of Vacationland and Kapoho. About a total of 400 homes have been destroyed in the eruption, and lava has evaporated all the water in Hawaii's largest freshwater lake in less than 4 hours. No deaths, thankfully, for this eruption, though. Number 3, NASA. The New Horizons spacecraft has woken up from hibernation to prepare for a historic New Year's Day flyby at the edge of our solar system. The New Horizons probe, which flew by Pluto in July in 2015, has been in hibernation mode since December 21st to preserve resources. But on June 5th, the mission operations team at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory received confirmation through NASA's Deep Space Network that the spacecraft had exited hibernation, as it was programmed to do so. The spacecraft will now begin preparations for a New Year's flyby encounter with the farthest planetary encounter in history. The spacecraft is currently traveling more than 3.7 billion miles away, which is 6 billion kilometers, from Earth through the icy band and debris surrounding our solar system beyond Neptune, called the Kuiper Belt. And it will be spending the upcoming months preparing for its encounter with the small objects in the Kuiper Belt. Number 4, Russia will dock a warship at Port Moresby in Papua New Guinea for the first time in modern history for both nations. The 7,000-ton Perekop training ship is loaded with 200 cadets and armed with anti-submarine rockets and anti-aircraft guns, and will arrive at Port Moresby on Wednesday and stay until Saturday. A lot of Russians are coming, but, well, they're not coming here. They're going to Port Moresby, which is Papua New Guinea. Number 5. Former NBA star Dennis Rodman says he'll travel to Singapore for the historical summit between President Trump and North Korea's Kim Jong-un, even though Mr. Trump says he wasn't invited. Rodman announced his plans via tweet on Friday. It's an odd relationship between Rodman and Kim Jong-un. You'd never assume them as friends, but the world is a weird place. It really is. Alright guys, that's it for the weekly news review. If you've enjoyed it, please leave a like. If you want to be notified for upcoming reviews, please click the subscribe button. And if you want to contact me, you can on wgoadamelder@gmail.com. I'm looking to do a mailbag in upcoming weeks. And that's it for now. Enjoy your week. Until next time.